My name is Tiffany Lancaster, and I run True Agency Real Estate Team. If you've received a notice of default, I'm sure you're scared, you're overwhelmed, you may even be feeling a little bit ashamed. I just want you to know that there are options available to you, and we are here to help. So you might be wondering, what even is a notice of default? How does it all work? And what does it mean for you? First of all, a notice of default is just the first step that a mortgage company takes when somebody is at least 90 days behind. They file this notice of default. They file it on county records, so it is recorded. It is filed through a trustee, so they do involve an attorney or trustee. And basically what it says is you are behind. This is the amount that you're behind. And there's a reinstatement amount. They're saying needs to be paid to reinstate your loan, or we are going to proceed with foreclosure proceedings. Now, it doesn't mean that they're going to foreclose right away. Once the notice of default is filed, they actually have to wait at least 120 days to schedule an actual foreclosure sale date. Now, they don't always schedule it 120 days out. Sometimes it's longer, but it has to be at least 120 days. The thing that you need to know if you've received a notice of default, first and foremost, is that you need to take action one way or the other. The clock is ticking. It's not urgent. You're not going to lose your home right away. But I would say the best thing that you could do is to continue to communicate with your mortgage company. Let them know what your plans are and what you're planning to do, and that you're actively working on getting it figured out. The bank is a lot less likely to proceed with foreclosure proceedings if you're communicating with them and letting them know what's going on. So in plain English, what the notice of default is, it's a form saying you are behind this amount and there's a dollar amount attached to it, and this is the amount that you need to pay to reinstate the loan. And if you don't do anything about this, we're going to continue with foreclosure proceedings. So as far as timelines go, it really can vary. Like I mentioned earlier, 120 days from the notice of default in Utah is the soonest that your bank can schedule a foreclosure sale. Now, I've seen lots of situations where it's been a lot longer than that and they have not scheduled a foreclosure sale, but that is the timeline that they need to wait until, like, that's the earliest that they can do it. So if there has been a foreclosure date scheduled, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean that everything is set in stone. You still have options up until that foreclosure date. As a matter of fact, you could go right up to that morning that your house is going to foreclosure. I don't recommend this, but I've seen it before where people actually go and file bankruptcy the morning of to stop the foreclosure sale. One thing that you need to be aware of is that there will be extra fees tacked on to the balance owed once the notice of default is filed. There's going to be extra late fees, attorney fees. It is a lot more expensive just to file the notice of default. And then again, if you wait for the foreclosure to be, the sale date to be scheduled, they're going to tack on even more fees after that. So it is imperative that you take action sooner rather than later, because you're just going to accumulate more and more fees on top of what you're already behind. The biggest misconception that I see with homeowners and a notice of default is a lot of times they mistaken the notice of default as a foreclosure, that they are foreclosing. And a lot of times people think that they don't have any other options left. There's nothing they can do. They're just getting foreclosed on. And actually there's a lot of options that you have up until that point. And like I said, you have 120 days bare minimum. So a lot can be done in that amount of time. So you might be wondering why the heck you're getting all this mail once you've received this notice of default. Well, the thing is, these notice of defaults are public records. They're filed with the county, and anybody who goes and accesses the information can see it. And so there are lots of people who track these notices of default, who go and pull these filings and try to reach out to these homeowners. Some of them mean well and they're trying to help, like us, and others not so much. Others they do have more predatory practices and foreclosure rescue scams where they're trying to steal all the equity in your house or steal the house. So people in this situation, you're vulnerable. You do have to be careful who you trust, and you have to be careful what you're signing. Make sure that you're not signing anything that you don't fully understand. Make sure you understand every paragraph in whatever it is that you're signing. On that note, a lot of times, something else that I want to bring up, a lot of times your bank they'll do what's called a partial claim. And I've seen a lot of homeowners get get confused about this because they think that they've done a modification when in fact they've done a partial claim. The partial claim is actually another loan that gets tacked on to the back end of your loan. It's another lien against your property that needs to be paid off when you sell. And so there's a big difference between a modification and a partial claim. A partial claim is more debt that eventually needs to be paid off, and sometimes that's not made clear through the servicer, the loan servicer. So people who have received a notice of default actually have a lot of options depending on your situation. You have enough time to list the property. If you have equity in the home, you could probably go through a regular listing. You have time to, depending on the situation, we work with people to help them repairs to get the property in great condition to sell it for top dollar. You could definitely sell for a fair cash offer. You just want to make sure that the people that you're working with are legitimate and that they're going to give you a fair cash offer. There's a short sell option. If you're underwater, you could do a short sell, which is going to be way better for you in the long run than a foreclosure. A foreclosure is like an atomic bomb to your credit. Whereas short sell, the only thing that's going to go on your credit with a short sell is that your last slate on your mortgage, meaning you could potentially buy a home again a year from your last slate if you're getting your credit where it needs to be. So a lot more options where that's concerned. So the first thing that you should do if you've received a notice of default is call your mortgage company, communicate with them. The second thing that you should do, honestly, is give True Agency team a call. Explain what your situation is. Sit down and have a consultation with one of our expert agents and explain exactly what your situation is so that we could come up with a few different options that are going to really help you get through this. I understand that it's confusing and hard to know who you can actually trust in this space. The best advice that I would give you is who are the people that are willing to help you, give you free advice, whether it benefits them or not. If people are only saying, this is your only option and I'm going to be making money, if people are pressuring you into making decisions that you don't understand, then I would say be very leery of those people. Look, I understand you're feeling scared, you're feeling confused, you're feeling so much overwhelm and probably even a little bit of a shame tied to this, but that can all change. Our goal is to help you feel empowered, is to help you feel in control, is to help you feel like you have control over your life again, and hopeful that you can not only just get through this, but you can bounce back from this better than you ever have. So thanks for visiting stayinyourhometoday.com. If staying in your home is really what you're looking to do, I encourage you to get in touch with one of our agents and they'll let you know the best way to do that, or if it's even possible, and if not, what all of your options are and what option is going to best suit you and your needs.